with your connection to.
Tom, are you having that too?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Well then, hi everybody. Are we recording? We're recording. Are we live? Oh yeah, we're live. We're all kinds of things right now. So we'll stop talking business and start talking books. We'll save the business chat for later, but we will get back to that because that's kind of an issue. So happy post 4th of July. And interesting watching some of the news cycles, I have to say. Some of the things that are happening around the globe. Just saying.
Around the globe and here at home.
And here at home. So here we are. I'm sorry, everybody, but everything that I am reading and have read, I've read one that's not coming out until January of 2025. I read one that's coming out in like September. So I'm sorry that I'm not talking about stuff that's happening right now. But that's why we got our lovely reps here. We got Andrea, Tom, and Julia, who will talk about things you can buy right this minute from Warwick. So did you guys have a good 4th?
Great.
Yeah.
Really
Tom,
nice.
Tom, you always have a big party, don't you?
We had a huge party and it went off so good. And it was like, I love mixing different people we know from different parts of our lives, and they all get along. So it was nice.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's fun.
How about you?
I've had my mother here, who's 99 and a half. I'm sorry, I'm going to start using halves now, kind of like when they're toddlers.
Yeah, well, when you're 99, half is important.
Half is important. So we basically just hung out. We did some, although I have a really funny story. So I tried to make her potato salad, but I guess it wasn't quite how she made it. So she's still giving me grief at 99.
She didn't hesitate to tell you it wasn't up to snuff.
You know when somebody says something's it's not very good when somebody tells you something, it wouldn't be so plain. I don't think it's
God bless her.
I feel like mothers are able to critique in just that specific way.
Does that right way, that just like to the bone. Oh, hilarious. So anyways, my cousin sometimes watches this, so if you're watching, you should get a kick out of that. And anyways, all right. Julia, you and Andrea, you guys both had good 4ths?
Yeah, I just hung out. My girlfriend's cat hates fireworks, so we just basically laid on the floor with the cat. So yeah. Not super exciting,
but keeping everybody safe.
Yeah, we had a few drinks and laid on the floor.
There you go. Andrea?
I had a very mellow 4th of July, which I like. Met some friends, some high school chums. It's our 40th year reunion coming up in August. But so we met for a drink early on, and then they went to the fireworks, and then we went home to assuage our dog, our fearful dog.
I think all dogs are. I don't know a dog that likes them.
Yeah. And it's like 109 degrees here, so it's crazy.
Right.
Yeah. Crazy. All right, let's get to some good book recommendations. It's going to go Andrea, Tom, Julia. So hold on. I think Amanda, you might need to give sharing privileges. Oh, there she's got them.
Okay. I wanted to talk about Goodnight Tokyo from Europa Editions, and anybody who is a veteran of tea time out there knows Europa. This is a trade paperback $18 novel. This is a novel that is basically follows its connected lives, following each other and intersecting with each other throughout the book. It moves from different metropolises, and it's set in the modern day, and explores intimacy and isolation, and basically everything in between. And this is a English language debut from Atsuhiro Yoshida, and we think that Yoshida is going to become one of those like major Japanese voices. So we're excited about that. And let's face it, Japanese translation is the new French translation. It is big, and it's not going to stop anytime soon. I love this package. It's a great cover. And it's nice that it's in trade paper, right? So so you folks out there who like Mieko Kawakami, Yuko Chashima, folks like that, Yoko Ogawa, this book is for you. Also, who is this? A German, I love this. Okay, so a German magazine commenting on a Japanese novel, now published in the English in America. They say that Hot List, it's a German publication, says it's a must read for Murakami fans as well. So that's exciting.
Yeah.
Good Night Tokyo.
Looks like a really good one. And speaking of Europa, I love that one. So put that one on order at Warwick's if you want that one. But speaking of Europa, I saw one that's coming out. I think it won some prize at The Bitter Age. It won some prize, European prize, that and Europa, I think, is publishing in the US, I think in January of 2025, I think. So put my little name on that one.
Yeah, I think that might be on the winner list. We haven't had sales conference for that, but I'm pretty sure I saw an e-manuscript in the folders, right?
Yeah.
So
but yeah, I think it's like kind of reminding me of maybe the Freshwater for Flowers-ish, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, we're it looks
surmising.
like the list looks to be shaping up for the winter. I mean, I haven't even talked about the fall books yet, right?
I know. We're talking 2025.
Yeah, those are coming out August through October and November. That's the list that we'll be talking about as the holidays ramp up. And but it looks like things are, moving apace for Europa and the winter list too. So
I know, I love it. Okay, Kim, I don't know if Murakami has a new book coming out.
Murakami does have a new book coming out.
Is that you, Tom, or is that
it's Liz?
Liz, that's on the Knopf side. Okay, yeah,
in the fall.
So Liz, I'm sure, will be talking about that. I'm imagining September-ish timeframe.
Yeah, I'll when I'm done with my book, I'll look it up.
Because I think that usually Murakami's a big fall release kind of guy.
Yeah,
right.
For sure.
Okay. Okay, Darcy's on here saying A Good Life by Virginie she loved it. I think you talked about that a few weeks ago, Andrea, by Virginie Grimaldi.
Yeah. Yes. Yep.
So yeah, good one. We love her book. Okay, Tom.
Well, I was just thinking, it's so like I've just read a book for next summer that I can't wait to start talking about, but it's a little too soon. So
I know
we're always reading so far ahead.
Too far. I think we're getting further and further ahead.
We are. Yeah, because I have read a book now for summer 2025, but I'm not. Our next sales conference is spring 2025, so it's unusual that it's that early. But let's talk about books that are out now.
Now that you can read. Yes.
So let's just talk about the book of the summer. Liz Moore's The God of the Woods. I am promising you, this is the book of the summer. Came out last week, a week ago. So much has already happened around it. On the 4th of July, Good Morning America did their Binge This segment, which talked about TV to watch, books to read, music to listen to, all that. And God of the Woods is one of the two books they've talked about. So lots of stuff happening, lots of buzz already. There was a great NPR interview. And so Liz Moore is the author of several books, but we've only published the last two. Long Bright River is the one we published a few years ago, which kind of broke her out from the pack. And that was kind of in the Dennis Lehane mystery genre, I would say. It was a dark, excellent literary mystery. This one has elements of that, but it's even more ambitious. It's a bigger novel. So it starts off in the 1970s, August 1975. We're in the Adirondacks. It's summer camp, and a camp counselor discovers that there's an empty bunk and that the occupant of that bunk, Barbara Van Laar, is missing. And so that sets the plot in motion. Where is Barbara? She's the daughter of the very wealthy family that owns the summer camp. And it turns out there was another missing child from the family years ago. So lots going on here. Lots of different threads. She goes back and forth in time. It's really brilliant. So I think if you like the books, the novels of, and who doesn't, Celeste Ng, Rebecca Mackay's last book, The Paper Palace, these books that are literary, but also have a big, they appeal to so many readers beyond the literary readers, but also the most commercial readers. Like for this book, we have amazing, the reviews have just started, but this one, we will not top this review. This was Maureen Corrigan on Fresh Air, and then again in the Washington Post. She said, for those susceptible to its pull, The God of the Woods, like The Secret History, transports readers so deeply into its richly peopled, ominous world that for hours, everything else falls away. As it unfolds, The God of the Woods becomes more and more focused on how its female characters break free, or don't, of the constraints of their time and social class. Whatever the case, breaking free of the spell Moore casts is close to impossible. So she's comparing it to Donna Tartt's The Secret History for its, deep evocation of the world. It's not a campus novel, but it's a summer camp novel. So this is going to appeal to everyone. It's fantastic. It's the number one. So it was the number one Indie Next pick for July. So that's when all booksellers get together and vote for their favorite books of the month. So getting number one was a big coup for us. So there's just not anything that's going to stop this book, I'm confident, including this fantastic cover. So that's Liz Moore and God of the Woods.
It is a great cover, and don't be intimidated by the size, because it is a hefty one.
Yeah, right.
And so don't let that scare you away, because it does move and it goes. And Tom, everybody in here is talking about how they just got their copy. Everybody's talking about it. So lots of chatter going on about this one. So yeah, it's,
and there's a lot of love at Warwick's. There's a number of booksellers, including Julie. We have your quote. Thank you very much.
Just somebody who, just your tastemaker here.
Exactly.
I'm going to rename this. You heard it here first.
I love that.
All right. Okay, Julia, what do you got for us?
Okie doke. I've got this one kind of shocked me when I read it, because I'm not a huge genre reader just in my own life. Like the fantasy and sci-fi I sometimes stumble on. I think I've said that before, and I think I think Amanda rightfully roasted me in the comments. But I will say that when I read this book, These Deathless Shores by P.H. Lowe, I was like really pulled in. And what I think pulled me in, she's a debut author, and this is a retelling of Peter Pan with a gender swapped Captain Hook. So Captain Hook as a woman instead of a man, and it throws the sort of fairy tale of Peter Pan on its head in this way that is like so interesting and stunning, and like brings out threads and themes in Peter Pan that maybe you might not have recognized, or maybe it highlights them in a way that they're not highlighted in the original text. It's a beautiful book. The Neverland in this novel is based in Malaysian folklore. The author is Malaysian. And so it's just got these beautiful descriptions of these these lush jungle islands and stuff like that. I just think it's a fabulous book. It's one that even if you're not a big reader of genre fiction, that you might really get pulled into it, and like any good classic retold, it really it's always fun because you see the characters you know and love, but then different things sort of start to unfold. So,
and it's great. Yeah, it's a great cover. First of all, it's a great cover. And and I kind of love, like, if you're not used to reading, because I just read a book over the weekend that was just like, totally not something that I would have read, but it was over the whole long weekend. And it was just like, okay, that was, a nice change of pace. And that's kind of where I think this would fit in, where
Yeah.
it's just like, just try it. If it's not something you normally do, kind of like the house on the Carillion, how do you say it? Cerulean?
The Cerulean Sea, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's the same kind of thing, I think, where it's just like, might not be something that you'd normally read, but it's,
And I think because you know the characters already, it sort of allows you to into the world in a way that if you struggle, like I do, if you struggle with sometimes coming into a fantasy world, that you're sort of familiar with it already. So
right. Tiptoeing in. So yeah,
Yeah.
I love that. Okay, Andrea, before you go to your next one, everybody is in here talking about Sipsworth, and wanted to say thank you because it was a very sweet and took an unexpected twist. So, and that's one of those that I think is going to have some long legs too. I think it's one of those books that people are going to keep discovering. Oh, you're on mute.
Sorry. It's one of those special books, that I agree it has legs. And I think it's going to be something that people give their friends for the holidays. And I also think, especially when it comes out in trade paper, that people are going to do book clubs, right? It's a good book group book.
Yep.
So, yeah. Well, good. Thank you, everyone. Okay, is it my turn?
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah. Next.
Okay. I don't usually talk about true crime. It's not a genre that I read really at all. I mean, Helter Skelter may be the last book in the genre that I read, okay? I mean, seriously. When I was like 19 or something, but this is really quite extraordinary. It's written by acclaimed author Sarah Gerard. It's Carrie Carolyn Coco, My Friend, Her Murder, and the Obsession with the Unthinkable. Her friend was killed. Her name was Carolyn Bush, but that's her. Carrie Carolyn Coco. That's what people call her. And she was murdered by her roommate, who and she was an aspiring poet, and he was in the art world, and they got along well, and it was just one of those things where everybody's like, what has happened? And Sarah Gerard became obsessed with her friend's murder, and basically started interviewing everybody involved, family members, friends, people who worked with the murderer, other people that knew her friend, Carolyn, that she didn't know, and went down a very dark rabbit hole trying to figure out what happened. Went to the trial, the murder trial. I mean, we are talking serious detective work to come to some conclusions. And this is hard-hitting writing. It's getting, like, it already has a buzz. I mean, it is just out tomorrow, and it's like one of the buzz books of the summer, and people are saying this has to be up for a true crime book of the year, that sort of thing. It's true crime, but it definitely has a literary scope to it. Gerard is an amazing nonfiction writer and has a keen and critical eye that she lends to this project. And like there's like the quotes are pretty great. Heart-wrenching, harrowing, and relentlessly researched. A poignant portrait of a life cut short, deeply affecting and impossible to put down. So this is a propulsive story, and if you are into true crime at all, I mean, obviously the genre is enjoying a bit of a renaissance right now because of all the true crime podcasts, and a lot of people are now taking their their obsession for true crime podcasts and picking up books as well. So I think this is definitely a candidate for people who are interested in this genre. And it's a $28 hardcover. Like I said, it's out tomorrow officially. And this is from Zando, one of our darlings, distributed under the Two Rivers umbrella.
Can I just jump in and tell
Yeah,
you
you
how
jump.
excited about this book I am? And like Sarah Gerard, I've read everything she's ever written. She's such a phenomenal writer. I am a true crime person. I have mixed emotions about how much I enjoy reading true crime because I kind of think it's messed up, but I do it and enjoy it. And like this book, just what I really love about it is it sounds like it's so much from the perspective of like looking at like, yes, what happened, and also like that this person was such a great person and this life cut short is so tragic. How do you like deal with that and move on? And I cannot wait to read it. I think it sounds stunning, and I couldn't think of better hands for it to be in this story.
Well,
And
yeah.
and that cover is incredible because it's kind of got the artist sketch over the they did an amazing job on that cover. That is just an incredible cover. But yeah.
Well, Julia, I can snag you a copy of this book. Because
If you want, I mean, I'll buy it.
Yeah, no,
So-
because I can tell that you're going to be proselytizing for it. So you should have a free copy.
I love it. All right. Yeah, it's in fact, I think, Andrea, that was the book that we had a customer order it before it was on sale. And
Yeah.
so there definitely is some definite
Yeah.
buzz about this book. So for sure.
Yeah.
All right, Tom Benton. what do you
Okay,
have
so
for us?
first to go back to Murakami, the book looks like it's called The City and Its Uncertain Walls, and it's coming out November 19th. His first
Oh.
novel in 6 years.
Oh, wow. Okay,
So we'll hear more from Liz on that, I'm sure.
for sure. Thank you for that.
So the history, my book, next book is The History of Sound by Ben Shattuck, and I love this book. It's a collection of stories, which I love talking. I love reading stories, and I love talking about short stories when they're as good as this one. So Ben Shattuck this is his first work of fiction. The previous book was called Six Walks in the Footsteps of Thoreau, which we didn't publish. That was Tin House, I think. But that was, essays and nature and really beautiful nonfiction. But this is and a lot of that comes through in these stories. But what I love about they're set over, I would say, 200 or 300 years mostly New England, or I think entirely New England. But what's so ingenious about them is that he pairs stories. So you'll read a story and it's fully complete on its own. But then later you'll read another story and you'll recognize the house or objects that were in that earlier story. Different things that in the stories that play off of each other in really interesting, unusual, satisfying ways. But they're great stories. They are really amazing. And so the title story is already the most famous one. That is about two men during World War I in Maine who meet in a bar and form this deep, intimate connection. And then they go around collecting folk songs in the area, putting them on wax cylinders, at that time. And that's the history of sound. Later, in another story, a woman discovers those wax cylinders, and it's fascinating to see how that deepens the earlier story, but also, makes you feel about the story you're reading. Also, it's pretty rare to have a short story collection that has Hollywood heat behind it. But that story, The History of Sound, will be a film next year. I think they've either already filmed it or are filming it, starring Paul Mescal and Josh O'Connor, who are two very hot young stars, hot in every sense, I guess.
I'm talking about some hot stars.
I know. Ben Shattuck wrote the screenplay, so I think, you know, this is a book that will be slowly building as reviews run, and then by the time, you know, it's going to get incredible reviews, I bet, on some 10 best lists at the end of the year, and then we'll come next year with the paperback right around the time the movie comes out. So it's a really exciting fiction debut for Ben Shattuck. So like I said, the reviews are incredible. Kirk has said, Shattuck writes with delicacy and restraint of the uncertainties, missed signals, and mixed feelings that trouble personal relationships across the centuries, even as we yearn for love and meaning. This is as good as short fiction gets. And then I think for the Geraldine, this is definitely for the Geraldine Brooks reader. And we have a Geraldine Brooks quote. She says, exquisitely crafted, deeply imagined, exhilaratingly diverse, the history of sound places Ben Shattuck firmly among the very finest of our storytellers. So this is a little find, a little sleeper, the history of sound.
I love it.
Out tomorrow.
It kind of, I mean, I love the connected stories too. And I don't know if this one was yours, Tom. It might have been a Simon title, though, now that I'm thinking about
Which
it.
one?
Birds of a Lesser Paradise.
Wasn't me.
Okay. Cam, if you like interconnected stories, that's an older title. I can't remember who the
I remember
author
the
is.
title, right?
Yeah, that was a really good collection of stories too, that were all interconnected. So
Yeah, and
I love
sometimes
that.
the interconnected stories kind of are like a novel. They tell
Right.
their stories, but you follow characters along. This is slightly different.
Yeah, but I like the idea that it's just like that there was something discovered,
Yes.
and then it's another story like years later. I love that.
Yeah, or even a century later. I mean, because New England is so, you know, there's so much, and he plays a lot with time. I also think if you like North Woods, you would like this book.
Okay, love Northwoods. That was a great book. That was a really good book. All right, thanks, Tom. Okay, Julia.
All right. Well, not to veer us too far into the political, but maybe
Are we going into hell now?
Yeah. Well, no. Well, kind of. This book, Ask Not: The Kennedys and the Women They Destroyed by Maureen Callahan. This is, man, is it a wallop of a book. I was raised by a staunch Democrat. And so the Kennedys are, of course, royalty, and and I was raised by a bunch of former Catholics. So, you know, the Kennedys, they loom large. But I think this book was so interesting. Maureen Callahan is such a great writer. She wrote a book about Israel Keyes, Israel Keyes, who was a serial killer before this book, and now she's taking on the Kennedys. And she really goes through woman by woman of the women that the Kennedys have been, have sort of, I mean, it says destroyed, and in a lot of ways they did. So she talks about, of course, the Kennedys' sort of original sin, Rosemary Kennedy, who was lobotomized and put into a mental institution for her whole life. They talk about Mary Jo Kopechne, who Ted Kennedy killed at Chappaquiddick. They talk about there was one of the Kennedy cousins killed a woman named Martha Moxley, which if you are a true crime sort of person who follows true crime, that is a big murder that happened. There was a Kennedy in Florida who raped a woman and got off for it. And so really what Maureen Callahan does is sort of tie this all together and say, like, this family has really evaded, the men in this family have really evaded a lot of the, you know, the, I don't want to say cancellation, because like, I feel like that's not what it's really about. It's really about, like, you know, they haven't faced any consequences for the actions that they've taken against a lot of these women in their lives. And, you know, we look up to them as a country as this like amazing family. And I feel like the shine has sort of come off maybe in recent years, but it's a phenomenal book. I read it and I was like, I'm always like skeptical, because I'm like, is this some weird like hit job that like has not based in any fact? And I read it and I was like, I don't know, man, this is pretty it's pretty damning. And so I don't know, if you like political books but maybe don't want to be in the throes of current politics, this one is Definitely one to read. It's eye-opening. It's a little bit shocking. It's pretty hard to stomach at points, but a very interesting take on the Kennedy family and sort of the power that they wield, even still to this day. So
Okay, question on the
Yeah.
cover. I recognize the middle one and the bottom one. Who was the top?
let's see. Let me
Bring
look
it back up again.
Yeah,
back-
yep. Hang on. Top's Marilyn Monroe.
Is it? Okay.
Marilyn
Okay.
Monroe.
I kind of thought,
Yeah.
but then I was looking at her ears and I was like,
Oh,
oh, is that really
yeah,
her
yeah, yeah.
ears?
No, that's her hair.
Oh yeah. Okay, now I see.
Yeah.
All right.
So yeah, and it goes into that too, sort of no matter what you think about her death, and I know there's tons of whatever speculation, it does talk about sort of how she was treated by both John and Bobby Kennedy.
Yeah.
Okay,
so Darcy's on here, and I put the comment, Amanda, on the wrong thing. I was trying to find out from Darcy if she was talking about the Kennedy book. So Darcy on here was just said, wow, because she listened to it and it's amazing. So
Yeah.
She said it's something else. And Jacqueline, Carolyn Bessette and all of it. So there's just like,
I mean,
you can go down the generations
Yeah.
and it's like, it's a generational thing.
Yeah. And I mean, there was just a Vanity Fair article about the Kennedy that's running for president.
Yeah.
I forget, Robert Kennedy's son. I forget what is
Junior.
he Robert Jr.?
Kennedy.
He's junior. He's a junior.
But there was just a Vanity Fair article about him and sexual assault allegations. So,
Well, he did
I mean,
his
it's definitely
wife.
it's not for the faint of heart, and it will be triggering if that's something that does sort of trigger you. But also, if you're someone like me who follows politics and thinks that I don't care what side we're on, let's follow some rules, rules
Of humanity.
Seems like rule following isn't what we like to do around here.
laws. And if we could just make sure that people are following the law, that would be great. And maybe not change the laws. Okay, I'm done.
Okay.
Whatever side you're on.
On the other side, yeah. Holy cow. I mean, we could go on and on. We have to have a side one of these.
I know, sorry. That's why I said I didn't want to I didn't want to really bring politics into it. Although my next one.
The Kennedy, yeah. But the next one. Hey, you know what? It's part of our job to put forth to people, and they can make their decisions and read it if they don't want to, and read it if they do. So
exactly.
And offering some different perspectives on some things. So
and we're in the situation we're in, so we got to face the music at some point.
Yes, we do. All right.
I read a review last night of that book, Julia, and it sounds quite harrowing.
Yeah, I mean it is.
Sure.
I
mean, it starts with Daddy-O, Joe Kennedy.
Yes, it does.
And Darcy puts a really interesting thing on here, because she says she lived through a lot of these stories piecemeal, as we all did. But when you put them all together with fact-checked follow-ups, that's when it becomes like this thing that you really can't look away from.
Yeah, I agree. And that was my experience of reading it too. It was like, woof.
Yeah. All right, lightning round. So Andrea, starting with you.
Thank you. I do want to correct the record. I actually did read In Cold Blood as well. So
there you go.
So I've got two on the list.
You got two on your
yeah. Okay. I wanted to talk about Graveyard of the Pacific. I think I talked about this when it was out in hardcover. But this is a perfect summer read for people who are into maritime narratives. Randall Sullivan is a long time writer for the Rolling Stone, but he's written for everybody. Esquire, I can't even think. I mean, just everybody, right? The New York Times, the Washington Post, and he's also written he's also been published a lot over a wide range of subject matters. He wrote about corruption in LA. He wrote about the troubling end of Michael Jackson's life. He wrote a mystery. And here he turns his attention to shipwreck and survival on America's deadliest waterway. And that is, believe it or not, where the Columbia River goes out, washes out into the Pacific Ocean. It's called the Columbia Gap, and it is really deadly. A lot of people die and or get hurt and have to be rescued. This is an amazing book. It describes the history of this dangerous place, but and so, like, you know, people who are into nautical history are gonna love this. But the unique thing about this book that I find compelling is that Sullivan also explores the reason why people, primarily men, feel like they need to do crazy things, such as, like, you know, go out in any little old vessel into the most dangerous waterway that anyone knows about. He's about 70 years old, and I think he's like kind of coming to a reckoning, and he does discuss how his father, who was abusive, loomed over much of his life, and probably fed Sullivan, the author, you know, Randall Sullivan's own desire and obsession to, like, take a little sailboat out into this Columbia Gap when he was small. So I'm sorry, it's not Columbia Gap, it's Columbia Bar. Please excuse my misnaming. But I think that was a fairly decent description of what this book is. Kirkus gave it a starred review. A riveting story of maritime tragedies and a personal passage. It is Sullivan's gripping, vividly detailed accounts of nautical disasters at the Columbia Bar that makes the book such an achievement. The author's personal story, from growing up with an abusive father to his 2021 attempts to cross the bar by the bar. Sorry, something happened to this quote here on my page. It like it courses through the book like an intermittent current, a strikingly rendered tale of the hard and lasting coast of courage. I cannot read today. A strikingly rendered tale of the hard and lasting costs of courage. So there you go. And I think that this book is just a great little summer read for anybody who's into maritime narratives, for sure.
Great summer read.
Yep.
$18. What a bargain, everybody.
That is a bargain.
Well, and I think if I remember when it came, I mean, I think when it was on the hardcover too, when we talked about it, very David Grand sort of narrative nonfiction too, I think, is where it's kind of that storytelling that happens with it. So
yeah,
there we go.
Yeah, he's
right.
masterful. He knows how to write. He can write about anything, basically.
Yep. Okay, Tom, what do you have for us?
Okay, so this is show and tell. So there's a thing happening in publishing where books are now getting effects everywhere on them, on the spine and on the cover and inside. This is our first entry into this genre. It's called The Night Ends with Fire. It was out last week. See, there's the edges, the stained edges, very detailed, shimmering.
Okay.
And then the end papers.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
Love those.
I mean, this is not my kind of book, but I looked when the finished thing arrived, I was like, wow, this is incredible.
Yeah.
If I was into fantasy, this would be my jam for sure. So it's the first of a duology, so there'll be another one, and it's based on Mulan, the legend of Mulan. So you have Chinese mythology, the legend of Mulan is mixed in here. A lot of other Chinese mythology here, but the main thing is Mei Lin, who's the main character, disguises herself as a man and joins the army, and then there's the three kingdoms, all this stuff going on. Not my thing, but if you like this sort of thing, and so I think this is more fantasy, less romantasy, but I'm
Okay.
sure there is romance, but more like traditional fantasy, I think.
Who's the publisher, Tom?
That's Berkeley.
Oh, it's Berkeley. Okay,
Or
well,
Ace, which is part of Berkeley. Yeah.
there might be some romance in there.
Yeah, there might be. Yeah, just a touch. But I think they did a fantastic job with the production of this book. It looks so great. So if you're looking for the next book in this genre, this might be the one. And
There you go.
the first week came out last week. It's going to be a bestseller. The first week sales are incredible. So
Well, and I think that to that point, it's if you know, with its lasting, if it's a good book, it'll last and go. But everybody's just clamoring for those books. So
Right.
they
Well,
everybody reads them so quickly.
and I think like the others, all of this will only be in the first printing. So that's
Right.
the thing. Get it now. Get this.
Get it
edition.
while it's hot,
Yeah.
on fire. Ooh,
Get it while it has gilded edges.
gilded
Yes.
edges. All right, Julia, bring us home.
Okay, so I brought a little backlist today because we talked about some backlists today in one of our meetings. And I actually was having a conversation with, I'm not sure if you guys know Bren at Children's Book World, but he was talking to me about something he did when he was younger, where he got to be a part of this like group of young activists who were taught by an older generation of activists how to organize and how to sort of come together. And this was in the early 90s, sort of at the peak of the AIDS crisis and the AIDS epidemic. And one of the people he mentioned was a person who was one of the teachers at this thing was Cleve Jones, who is a how do you describe Cleve Jones? I mean, it was on the front line of ACT UP and was on the front line of trying to get the CDC to approve drugs for AIDS when they were sort of slow walking. I mean, and with Dr. Fauci sort of slow walking some of the drugs that were experimental at the time. And he writes this amazing memoir about his life in activism. And I was having this conversation with Bren on the day that the Supreme Court ruled on presidential immunity. And so I was feeling at a particularly low point. And sort of just even hearing about this, this sort of thing where young activists got taught how to help organize gave me a little bit of hope and made me think about the fact that we are the ones with all the power to organize to stop some of this. And so I wanted to bring back a little bit of backlist to think about, feeling a little less powerless, because I think I spent most of last week just in a total haze of feeling like, how do we do anything or affect any change? And just even, connecting with that book again, I had read it a number of years ago, but reconnecting with that book sort of gave me like a bit of hope. So I wanted to leave us with a bit of hope today.
We all need that.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. And I love that, it's bringing up a good backlist title for, because sometimes a title like that could be one that kind of like gets forgotten about. Because it's not really a book clubby kind of book, but it's like one that needs to be brought up and brought up into the conversation again.
Yeah, and I think I often think about hope as an action word. So it's not something you just sit back and think about. It's something that motivates you to move forward and to help and to do things. And so really thinking about that, I hopefully maybe it'll leave you with a bit of hope. And
stop doom scrolling like I did.
Yes.
Like, how much time do I waste doom scrolling? I should be out doing something.
Last week was bad for me on that front.
I couldn't stop. And I literally, it was one of the first times that I really like discovered with myself that I was like, okay, this is really bringing me down. And it was just like, I got to stop this. This is not healthy for anybody. So action is, and I love that with that book. All right. We have a great week of events this week. We have Renee Carlino will be here tomorrow with Liz and Lisa. We have the author. Her book is give me a second here. I'm blanking for a minute. This Used to Be Us is Renee's book. And then on Wednesday, we have Marjan Kamali, who will be here with The Lion Women of Tehran. And then on Thursday, we have a panel with DC Frost, Kate Kale, and Lily Huang, A Punishing Breed, Under a Neon Sun, and Underneath. I don't think that's a full title, but anyways. Oh yeah, I guess
Yeah,
it is a full title.
those are that's some of my publishers. So
That's all you. Yeah. And
Yep.
underneath. So that, and they're going to be moderated by Saul Gonzalez. So what a week we got coming up. So that'll be fun. And then we'll see what we've got to read next week from whoever of you three decide to show up next week with us. So, all right, everybody. Good
I'll be
things
on vacation.
Okay, well, please don't tell me you're going to Hawaii again, because I'm just gonna
No.
not like you very much if that's already.
I will be out on the road, but if I can make it, I will. I just don't,
Okay.
you know how that is.
All right,
I
do.
have a sales conference, but I should try to make it after sales conference.
Okay, well, we'll hopefully one or two or so of you will show up next week. Fingers crossed. All right, everybody, happy reading, and we will see you all next week. Bye.